Welcome to the Merkava2D review, and as a special I'm going to review each of these three tanks one by one as they all have such incredible differences. I'm not. It's literally the same tank, but anyway, apart from the inside joke to some of you people out there, this is a tier 7 premium main battle tank, and some good fucking tea. And the first is ready vehicle in the game. This was here, God, during Obsidian times, I think. And while it has a ready rack and the look of just about every other Merkava in the game, this does not have the armor of one, and neither does it really play like one either. It has a 4-shot ready rack, it has heat protection on the sides, its frontal armor is a complete mess, and its turret is hilarious to say the least. This is a hilarious seal clubber, and people who underestimate you can get killed in pretty short order. It has pretty nice DPM, it has missiles that are actually decent. We have 800 pen LHAT missiles here, which can actually pen some of the tier 7 MBTs that your AP rounds cannot. So, first of all, let's get a short comparison out of the way. We're going to compare this and all of the other premium MBTs in the same tier. Actually, no, we're just going to compare all of them. Okay, let's compare the ones that people actually play. So, Challenger 1, 9910, K1A1, Leopard, Abrams, Sabra, and of course the Type 90 and the T80U. Now, as you can see here, it has the lowest damage in the same tier. The 120s have around 500 to 570, and the 125s are usually sitting around the 600 mark. It also has extremely low penetration as well. It's 600, with the second worst penetration being with the Challenger, but I would like you to look at the DPM. 5100. The 9910 has 5600. Nobody else really has as much, which is actually quite good. It also has an extremely good portion of hit points. 3350 means you could tank for a long time, and I believe I'm correct in saying that it has the second highest amount of hit points in the tier, second only to the Challenger 1, and it also has the best turret armor in the same tier, and very good hull armor as well. Its steel armor used to mean that it was quite vulnerable to thermal barracks, but since thermal barracks are no longer as they once were, it's no longer really much of an issue now, and its camouflage value sucks. It also has pretty bad gun depression as well, pretty decent aim time and maximum deviation. You will hit things at least, but it is very slow. It is the slowest vehicle in the same tier, and it weighs a fuck ton as well, so yeah. So right off the bat, we have 105mm rounds. It is the last MBT in the game to have 105mm shells, but it does have a pretty decent reload at 7.23. I don't think any other MBT has a better reload except for maybe the Leopard, maybe? No, Leopard is 8 seconds. I think the Type 99 has a better reload. Yeah, the Type 99 has a 6.6 second reload, but apart from that, I don't really think you're going to be able to out-reload a Merkava, and you're the only MBT on this tier to have a ready rack. So, in a frontal situation, the first thing you're probably going to do is aim for the front sprocket, track them, and just keep unloading into them. Once you get 2-3 shots into them, they cannot win a damage race with you, which is pretty decent if you ask me. Apart from that, let's have a look at the frontal protection. So, overall, I believe this has some weird angles to them. As you can see here, you've got this weird spot here, you've got this thin line, another line, yellow, you'll pen it around half the time, and another spot there, which is quite weak, but good luck hitting it, because while this is a very big vehicle, if it covers itself, it can actually be pretty difficult to pen, but anyone in the know can actually go through that bit there, and at least the turret is relatively pretty decently armoured. Side armor can be armored to some extent. As you can see here, it has a pretty good auto bounce angle there and there, And lastly, it does actually have some pretty decent missile protection, as you can see here, being around the 900 mark. But flat side on, it's actually quite weak. But at the very least, you will have some pretty good protection versus missiles. Where is the BMD2M? I believe that has the highest missile damage in its tier. Sorry, the highest missile pen, 900 pen. As you can see here, even at a side armor, it can actually be quite difficult to pen one of these. So, unlike other mercs, it does have some missile protection to the side and some AP protection as well. Hesh protection wise, since it's steel, you can pen it with Hesh rounds from lower tiers, but good luck really, and at very least, well, good luck going from there. But it does have an ammo rack in the back, as you can see there, as well as the front part of the tank, and using AP rounds. There's also a engine and a gas tank in the front, which means you can be set on fire from the front. It will happen. But at the very least, this can actually very much tank lower tiers pretty well, and in a hold down situation, getting rid of this motherfucker is really difficult. Not to mention the side armor can protect it as well. For instance, if we look at the Merc 3 Baz versus those same Al-Hat missiles, yeah, it actually has worse protection versus missiles. And versus the Merkava's shells, here we go, it also has lower side armor as well. So you're actually looking at the possibly the tier for tier the tankiest Merkava in the game, which is pretty decent. Alright. So your AP shells, they're pretty bog standard, 600 pen, not exactly. They'll pen tier 6s, they won't pen tier 8s, but they'll go for their side armor, and they should be able to pen most tier 7s. Your heat rounds, 500 pen is awful. Like I said before, this has a 4-shot ready rack, so keep that in mind that you're going to want to load these in 4s. But your missiles are actually really good, and they are self-guiding, which means against AFEs and stuff, when you hold down, you can hit them. Now, as I said before, you do have some interesting ways to kill off other MBTs. Now, let's have a look. Against the Type 90, which is usually a vehicle you don't want to go up against, the Merc does actually have some pretty interesting options versus it. You have that slim of the turret ring there, and since you're taller than it, you can actually go through the turret top. And of course, versus AP shells, you do have that bit down there, but at the very least you do have your options versus a hold down Type 90, which is usually one of the more difficult vehicles to pen. I'm going through MBTs on the most difficult list, by the way. K1A1 can be a bit of an issue as well. It's short, it's squat, and it's got really decent frontal protection. In fact, the Leopard can have issues with a K1A1. As you can see here, its frontal armor isn't exactly... Okay, I'm using that with the wrong one. There's the Merc. As you can see here, frontal on is a bit of an issue, but versus missiles, no other MBT in the same tier has missiles that can pen this much, and you'll usually go 100% through the front beak and there as well. However, it does have some very weird missile properties, so yeah, side on the K1A1 could actually be harder to pen than the front. But keep that in mind, you're not defenseless in the Merkava. And at the very least, if you have to, charge and unleash the ready rack. Now, onto everything else. Surplus parts crates, first aid cabinet, and improved fire extinguisher. You're going to want that improved fire extinguisher. Do not take anything else. Once you start getting hit, your crew members will get hit, and you will get tracked a lot by people trying to front sprocket you, and of course the missile spam. Last but not least, an improved Pioneer toolkit, a gun breech, and an advanced muzzle reference system. I would definitely take the gun breech to get the reload time down, and the improved Pioneer toolkit as well for when you need to repair yourself, but you could always put on improved filter systems or something else maybe. There is a pretty fun choice of commanders to use, generally speaking. You could use Cortez, who, as you very know, gives all of these lovely stats. An overall stat board of him will be available on the screen. Alicia as well for the hit point value and more ammo, if you have Alicia with the hit point thing anyway. You could also use Freya if you want to go maximum accuracy, which is actually quite funny. And we also have the ability to use commanders like Gia, who could give you some crew stats when you take hits. However, his biggest one, which is APS, the Merc doesn't have an APS, so don't really recommend using him. And then lastly, if you really want to go reload hell, you could always use Rachel Kramer, who gives you reload speed increased by 50 enemies. Your reload speed will go nuts. And then if you just want to play your bug standard NATO commander, you could always use Philip instead. Now, let's have a look at some games. So, this is Reactor, and to be honest, when it comes to going lower tier in my MBTs and stuff, usually I prefer going down to the lower part of the map. Most of the time, the heavyweights usually stick on the encounter circle, or if they're not exactly intelligent, they go to the dam. Which means usually most of the time you're going to be facing people who are usually the same tier as you, with some AFE support, and some people on the E-line sniping. So that was my thought for this map, and this game is going to turn out a lot differently than what I expected it would be, but it also might be a bit of a surprise. I want you to focus, if you have the Merkava2D in your aim game model, to look at how strong the turret is, because this is going to be a very interesting game. I want this game to know how tanky this thing can be, and also how quickly its ready rack can demolish people. Now, I'm using Cortez, I believe, and we have an enemy Merkava who is not exactly the smartest guy in the world. He knows I have a ready rack, and I can't exactly pen that leopard over there, even with the best AP rounds in the game. I won't be able to, but look at this guy. 1, 2, 3, and I set him on fire. I think I'm using Victor. I'm not sure if I'm using Cortez. So I've put 3 shells into that enemy Merc. I've done 1500 damage to him. That's great. First bounce of the game. Okay. There's going to be a lot more, and I want you to pay attention to this. We have an Abrams coming up. Now, I can actually pen that Abrams in his little gun mantle part, but issues can be had. Second bounce of the game. The ready rack, usually you're going to put in more fire downrange than anything else, really. The ready rack, the 7.23 second reload time is actually pretty bog standard for MBTs of higher tier, but at tier 7 it's actually really good to never bounce. If I was in a Leopard or something, or an Abrams or a Challenger, they would actually be able to go through my turret, but this thankfully does not have that issue. Another pen on that Leopard over there, thankfully. This Abrams over here as well, and unfortunately my team they weren't particularly good at this map. And we do have just enough pen to go through that Abrams, and as you can see there, he is definitely not enjoying that. I'm pretty sure I'm using Cortez at this point. But the fact that even though you have the lowest gun damage in your tier, you do at least have the very fun ability to dump and continue dumping shots into the enemy over and over and over again. Oh look, another bounce. Usually you can find yourself bouncing an extraordinary number of shots. Unfortunately, I get penned by that Stingray. Unfortunately, this thing's, while it's got nice armor, it's tall, and the side armor versus AP rounds at a flat angle, such as everything, usually doesn't really particularly help. And unfortunately, the game is actually starting to fail at this point, as usually if South team makes it up to that area over there where like the hill is, usually they win, but if everybody's going to be camped out fighting on here, then North team wins, and this is one of those games. And fortunately for this, me at the least, we did lose that game. But I want you to imagine how much damage I blocked. 3,000? 4,000? About 5,000. That seems like pretty reasonable numbers. No, it's not 5,000. I want you to think much higher at the hilarity of the Merkava's armor. Okay, 4,380 damage done, 394,000 credits. Pretty bog standard really. A hell of a lot of damage to that Merc. Even though I wasn't running Victor at the time, I was in fact running Cortez. You do have enough shots downrange to be able to repeatedly pump people full of lead enough that they will explode, as this Merkava did. A pair of shots more done to that Abrams, and 2 more done to those guys. 762 damage done, highest experience in the team. My team folded like wet paper bags generally. 10 shots fired, 10 missed. Total potential damage done was 7,905. Assist damage pretty bad. 9,386 damage blocked. Oh god! 7,733 bounce from non-penning hits and 1,600 from ricochets is absolutely beautiful. 24 hits bounced. Yeah, you can bounce a ridiculous number of shots in these things. Let's have a look at another game. This game is going to have a pretty slow start to the crescendo, unfortunately. The Merkava2D's lack of speed is definitely a thing, so I'm sure for all of you 2D drivers out there, you'll definitely enjoy what's about to come. Losing speed, losing speed, losing speed, losing, oh god help, oh no, and 10 kilometers an hour. This thing will get left behind quite a bit. It's slow, painful, and yeah, well at the very least I got to shoot a C-13, bouncing him anyway. I'm unsure if that one hit him or not. There are actually 3 C-13s in this match. People obviously like those things a lot. Unsure why. Oh look, another hill. Are we gonna get up there? Are we? No. Probably get up on here maybe Saturday or Sunday maybe. I might be even up here in time for my marriage. No, still slow. That is a giant problem with the Merkavas, unfortunately. And of course there's one of my subscribers over there. Hi Farah, what are you doing over there? And I did actually manage to hit that VBR. For now, unfortunately, like I said, we're still going to be trundling along really. There isn't that much to do with the Merc. It is slow, it is fat, and dear god it takes a while to get there, but when it does, I think you'll all appreciate this thing's incredible qualities. So we've only done 470 damage. I think, can't even sure what commander I was using. Oh, it was a kill shot to that guy. And then 142 up there, Challenger, a bunch of other guys. Alright. I want you to keep in mind, could you have done this quickly with any other MBT? 1 shot. 2 shot, this NM142 is obviously having issues with this thing's armor. Not that I care. Oh look, I've just killed a tier 7. Hi Bimp, how are you? Look, he's gonna rush me. The funniest part of that Merc is that due to the ready rack, it's actually quite hard for people to circle you. Now, this time, we're getting flanked by quite a few people. However, the Merc does actually excel in these kind of situations. It has tough frontal armor, it has a very fast reload time, and its damage is decent. The side armor is pretty decent as well, so bounces can happen. So in this situation, all I should do really is just back up and wait for the ready rack to come up. The way for these enemies to kill me would have just been to straight up rush me. Unfortunately, it doesn't really happen. Now, that's a autoloader. Well, actually, he's a ready rack tank. But thanks to the fact I have a ready rack, I can actually trade with him, which is not something other MBTs can do. The Merk2D does have a lot of options, and we've now done 4,200 damage. I have a load of hit points as well. I can just keep coming up. The ready rack, as said before, gives you a hell of a lot of options to use. Oh look, there's another shell. Hi Stingray. If I was in, say, a T80 or something, I might actually be dead by now, or a one-shot. If I was in an Abrams, I'd be on 900 hit points. I'd be a 2-shot. On this, I'm a 3-shot, in some cases a 4-shot for people who low roll. It's fun. And thanks to having so much hit points, I can actually do some spotting damage. Like I said, thanks to the fact that I have so many hit points, I can actually challenge that challenger who was challenged. At this point, I know that he would have died, but you know. I kind of wanted to kill him, and I can tank a shot from him. That was a pretty stupid move from me, to be honest, but I found it to be funny regardless. Now, don't get me wrong, this thing can still move. It's not completely immobile. It may be the slowest vehicle in Tier 7, but that doesn't mean that you can't, you know, stay in one place. Far from it. There are many things you can do in it. For instance, you can go back to where you originally were and scare the crap out of a T80. Now, I know that BMP is going to be shooting me. In fact, a lot of them are going to be shooting me. But, and in fact, the Merkava2D has actually been quite rare in many cases, to be honest. A lot of people don't appreciate its qualities anymore. Some people don't know where to pen it. Some people don't know it has a ready rack. Like this T80B. Hi, how's it going? Just gonna say, you have options, you should definitely use them, and it's one of the reasons what makes this a hilarious premium tank. It used to be everywhere. Now it's in a lot more places. Okay, C13 over there. Now remember, C13s are usually used to winning all the fights. If he had taken top-down anti-tank missiles, he might have killed me. Top-down anti-tank missiles can actually have issues with this tank because it does have a pretty heavily armed roof. But in this case, this guy... And I'm actually loading heat shells at this point. Hey, how's it going? Oh, look. You don't know where to pen me, do you? Hi. How's it going? There's always a fun bit of panic in their eyes, isn't there? And then we can just move up to the same place. Now, I was actually pretty sure that Asgard was going to come behind me. In fact, he probably would have killed me if he had done so. But, for whatever reason, he made a couple of mistakes. Now we're back to using heat rounds again. Why should I use heat rounds? I know they have bad pen, but they're gonna go through that C13. They're gonna go through the Asgard, so I might as well use it, right? Oh look, there's another C13. Oh, quick, back up, back up, back up. Is he gonna have the same option? Is he gonna go to the same problem as before? Are you sure about this, dude? Okay, let's smoke up. Hey, how are you? Boop. And that Asgard did eventually try to sneak up on me. Unfortunately, this guy, I think he regretted his actions, to be honest. People really don't know it has a ready rack, do they? If you use that ready rack, and remember this thing has some really decent missile protection, you can really surprise people. Like those 3 others who thought that was a good idea. No idea why, really, but hey. More XP for me. Oh, eventually it was a pretty surprising game. I was expecting to die quite a few times, but well, I didn't. And thanks to the ready rack, the armor, and the fast reload time, you can print damage. I also got Scout's Crest as well. That's the second one I've gotten in MBT. 7,726 damage. Loads of damage done to these people. Lots of ready rack goodness. Spotting damage. And 7.7k damage done. 5 kills. Pretty damn good. You don't need to see there, but a pretty surprising amount of damage bounced. Non-penetrating hits on the missiles. Probably 4,000 damage done by them. What, 4,000 damage bounced. And a random ricochet. And even without everything, I still would have gotten around 400,000 credits for that match. Do I recommend buying one of these? Yes. You can either get the Storm, the Soar, or the Black Eagle. It's the same tank, but I prefer getting the basic one simply because you can paint it and you can put decals on it. Speaking of decals, I don't think if any of you know this, but I actually have a special decal of me in game. If you'd like a wonderful Spitfire decal, just ask in the comments and message me on Discord. I will gladly give you one. But yeah, I fully recommend this thing. It stood throughout the entire test of time in Armored Warfare. It's relatively affordable, it's cheap. Well, it runs cheap, the ammo is pretty friggin' cheap. It's 105mm. It's fun, it's quite noob friendly, it's pretty decent in PvE, it's pretty decent in Glops, it's pretty decent in PvP. And if you're a skilled player and you're able to track enemies in the front sprockets and use it correctly, you're going to have a whale of a time. So I give this tank 4 Independence Wars out of 1 Syrian reactor bombing. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you all later tonight for the usual PvE hangout stream. And of course there is a poll below for the next tank to be reviewed, which will be a tier 10. So head on to that poll, and if you enjoyed the commander skill sets shown up on screen, say if you like that as well. I'm trying different things here. So for now, take care everyone, and I'll see you all next time.